Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities, and welcome back to another Doctor Who review. Today's Doctor Who review is none other than Doctor Who and the Daleks, and Doctor Who and the Daleks Invasion of Earth 2150. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. On the planet Earth, an inventor named Doctor Who has invented a time machine. With the help of his two granddaughters, Susan and Barbara. Barbara has just announced to Doctor Who that she is bringing her boyfriend, Ian Chesterton, home for the first time to meet Doctor Who. Doctor Who is over the top to meet Ian. Well, of course, on first impression, after being offered chocolates, who wouldn't be? But soon the relationship between Doctor Who and Ian Chesterton becomes a little bit, let's say, tense. The Doctor invites him into his time machine and shows him around the ship. He begins to tell him about the instruments, when all of a sudden Ian accidentally lands on the lever, letting the police box dematerialize into anywhere in time and space. Not knowing exactly where they're going to land, Doctor Who ends up on the planet Skaro. He tricks Ian into allowing him to go into the city and investigating all of what's going on. Once in the city, they come across the Daleks, who take them prisoner. But soon Doctor Who and his two granddaughters and Barbara's boyfriend, Ian, realize that they have fallen ill to radiation sickness. And as everyone else is too weak to go and essentially get the drugs from outside, Susan runs out to the TARDIS in hopes of being able to get the drugs and return. She bumps into a Thal who gives her a separate set of drugs, and of course, she takes these with her in hopes of keeping her friends alive. After returning with the drugs and realizing that the Daleks aim to destroy the Thals when they enter the city, Susan and her friends do everything in their power to save the Thals from their inevitable death at the hands of the Daleks. Eventually they scheme a plan and break into the city, much the same as the Doctor Who serial, The Daleks. Now the second film, of course, is exactly the same as the Daleks' invasion of London. Sorry, I meant the Daleks' invasion of Earth, which, of course, is set in London, but also set in the countryside. It turns out that Doctor Who has another companion this time. He has his young granddaughter, Susan. He has his other granddaughter, Louise. And now he bumps into a policeman who is trying to apprehend a robbery in London. The policeman wanders into the police box in hopes of getting backup, but instead takes a trip through time and space into the far future of the year 2150. The policeman is of course played by the late great Bernard Cribbins. He plays a police officer named Tom Campbell. Tom Campbell is new to the way of the Doctor Who's life, and of course he doesn't realise what he's in for. He lands in the year 2150 with Louise and Susan, but after venturing off with Doctor Who in hopes of finding some answers to exactly what's happened to future London, they soon discover a plot by the Daleks to destroy the Earth and use its core to turn it into a planet for their mass production of Daleks. It turns out that the surviving factions of human beings have been hiding away, and Susan and Louise get swept away during one of the invasions. Susan goes off to the far side of the countryside in hopes of surviving the Dalek tyranny, whilst Doctor Who and Tom Campbell try and break into a Dalek saucer. Upon breaking into the Dalek saucer, Tom Campbell and Doctor Who get separated. Tom Campbell comes across Louise, who seems to have been hiding in one part of the ship. After escaping down a garbage chute, Tom Campbell and Louise head out, hoping to find Susan and Doctor Who once again. Meanwhile, Susan gets stuck in a car chase in which the saucer seems to be flying overhead, watching her and her escapees attempt at fleeing the city. They both manage to get out of the car just in time as the truck is set alight by the Dalek saucer. They eventually come upon a home in hopes of getting some rest. They get some rest for the night, but little do they know that the two women who have let them in have betrayed them to the Daleks. One of the women's excuses is the fact that they already wanted to go and see the mining camp, but this is no excuse for them being left out in the cold with the Daleks. Once there, Susan and her escapee get taken to the head of the Dalek operation, where she bumps back into her grandfather, Doctor Who. Doctor Who notes the fact that the Daleks are susceptible to magnetic pull. If he uses a certain unit, all of them will be pulled down the shaft and folded in on themselves. Meanwhile, down below, Tom Campbell is also part of another plot in which they will send the neutron bomb down a separate shaft, and rather than exploding the core of the Earth, it will just explode the mining operation and destroy it once and for all. Doctor Who and his family save the day, and Tom Campbell is sent back to his time. He goes back and stops a robbery just before it happens by knocking out the two people in the car and safely driving away. Now, I like both of these stories, mainly because I really love Peter Cushing's performance in both films. But I've got to say, out of the pair of them, the one I love the most has got to be the Tom Campbell story, the second story, The Daleks' Invasion of Earth. Simply because I like that, in a way, it is still the original Daleks' Invasion of Earth story, but with its subtle twists and turns and its own little homage to the story. It splits characters up very early, and it gives Peter Cushing, Tom Campbell, the character of Louise, and the character of Susan their own time to kind of breathe, which I feel isn't done necessarily the greatest in respects to the original story in Doctor Who. I really like in both stories, though, as I mentioned just a second ago, there are subtle changes. For instance, the gun stick in Doctor Who and the Daleks is blocked and jammed, whereas in the original story, the Doctor, Ian, Barbara, and Susan just make a mud pie and blind the Dalek's eye. Not to say either version is better than the other, but I do like the subtle differences. Doctor Who and the Daleks is a very great homage to all the films. It's just such a shame we didn't get a third film with Peter Cushing. Susan's character is much stronger and much more believable. I love Carol Ann Ford in the original show, but I do really, really love the actress of Susan in Doctor Who and the Daleks a little bit more. Mainly on the basis that she's younger, and mainly on the basis that she is much more believable to be the grandchild of the Doctor, in the sense of a child actress playing a child. Personally, this just comes down to my personal belief that I believe when it comes down to child actors playing characters, it's better for them to play them than an adult sometimes necessarily to be playing a child. Being fascinated by everything. Now, this is what really sets him apart from the Doctor and Doctor Who. It's the fact that in Doctor Who, the Doctor is this scientific mind from another planet, from another world, who has this advanced knowledge of most things. It's not that the Doctor in Doctor Who isn't fascinated by a lot of things, but he does seem to have a lot more answers, where Doctor Who in Doctor Who and the Daleks is a scientific mind from the planet Earth who everything is his first. if he takes his trip in his TARDIS, it's the first time he goes to another planet. It's the first time he discovers a petrified forest. It's the first time he goes to the year 2150. Everything is new to him. Everything is interesting. And that is really what sets Peter Cushing's Doctor up so high. And for this reason, I give Doctor Who and the Daleks a 10 out of 10. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next Doctor Who review. Until then, stay amazing, stay beautiful. Alon Z, you amazing Whovians.